When that Evan is unleashed, like things start becoming irrelevant. Like number one, friendships are irrelevant to me. Like walls, no problem. Even authority, not a thing for me. Authority, like umpires are supposed to have authority, and I don't care. I have it's bad. Okay, it's bad. I'm not saying this is a good example to follow, but I used to coach baseball, like high school baseball. Tyler played with me 1 year, so it's like real baseball, right? This is high school junior varsity baseball. All right, I like to call it YV. All right. And so I was the JV coach, and I don't care if it's JV, I'm all about winning. I'm trying to win this thing. And this was the year after Tyler was playing, so you weren't there for this story, sorry. But I was 21 years old when this happened, okay? And I'm 22 now, so, okay. This was a few years ago, and we have a game on a Thursday, just a random regular season game. And I love baseball so much, I'm driving all the way to Conroe, right? And I'm twitching. I'm like, let's just start the game already. I just want this game to start. And it's the first inning. It's finally starting. And it's the second batter of the game. Okay, he's got 2 strikes on him. My player is batting. And he does what we call a check swing. Y'all know what a check swing is? Okay, so basically if this is the bat, he goes to swing, but he stops like right here. Didn't quite swing, right? Well, the umpire, there's an umpire at first base that is allowed to make that call if the guy at home plate asks him to, right? Y'all are with me? Well, that's all he had to do, just ask him. He sees it better than you. Instead, this umpire decided to say, the batter went strike 3. And he calls my guy out. And now it's the first inning, right? I've got to choose my battles here. Didn't matter. Competitive Evan came out. Okay, so it is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't, right? And so I'm coaching third base. My batter that struck out starts walking back to the dugout. Next batter's walking. I yell at the home plate umpire. I'm 90 feet away, right? Hey! No response. Hey! And he starts telling the batter hey, I think the coach is trying to get you. I said, no, I'm talking to you. He's like, me? I said, yeah, that was terrible. True story, not even kidding. And he's like, excuse me? That's terrible, right? I'm fired up, it's gone. So umpire decides he wants to start getting intimidating. He says, Coach, you sure you want to do this in the first inning? He's like, you sure you want to go there? I said, I didn't start this, you did. I'm not backing down, right? You want to go, I don't even care, but, act intimidating on me. Whatever. It is what it is. And it ain't what it ain't. Yeah. And so that's how I'm fired up right now just thinking about it. I need to sit down. It's like that with all baseball for me. When the Astros lost last year and didn't quite make it to the World Series, they're one series away from going, I literally had the thought of, I will never get over this. I'll never recover. My whole life, I'll never let it go. That's what was going through my mind. That's how bad it is. And if y'all think it's bad with me as a coach or an Astros fan, you should have seen me in my playing days. Because that's worse, right? And yes, I did get kicked out of a game one time while I was playing. And I shouldn't have said that. I'm starting to get fired up again now. It was over a check swing again. Stupid check swings make me mad. Got a problem. Curry was there. But the reason that I get so fired up about baseball, so passionate, is why I love baseball. I love baseball. And it starts tomorrow, and I'm so excited. But I just love it. And back when I would play, we used to have to get to the games an hour before the game started, right? A full hour. Nobody gets my Parks and Rec quote. Don't worry about it. Anywho, they'd make us get to the game an hour early, okay? And I hated that. I hated that because they'd make us do this whole routine, stretch, warm up, hit a bullpen, right? I was a catcher, so I had to catch the pitchers warming up. I hated the whole thing. I was like, let's just start the game already, right? I just want to start the game and I want to win. But the reason that we had to do the stuff before the game was why? It was, to get prepared, to give us a better chance to win the game. And I hated doing that. I thought it was the worst, and I thought, let's just start the game, right? Let's just play. Let's go. But ultimately, doing the stuff before the game gave us a better chance to win the game. And so what I want to do tonight is we got our run the race slide up there. A lot of us are coming home from camp pretty recently, and I wanted to just get right into it, right? Let's run the race that God has set before us. Let's go out into our schools. Let's live it out and all this stuff. And I started thinking, you know what? Before you get to that, there's some stuff you have to do before the game, if you will. Because there's something that God has put on my heart that I think is really important for us. And before we talk about living this Christian life, I think there's something that we need to remember. So we need to go back to the basics a little bit. And it all starts with me and my own personal life. I feel like, I got a college degree in Christianity, Christian studies, and I'm getting another degree in Christianity, a master's degree and all this stuff. And I feel like a lot of people think I have it all together from the outside, right? And I started thinking, no matter how much people think good of me, I always kind of feel like God is a little disappointed with me. That I never quite make him happy. And rightfully so, right? I mean, he gives me all these amazing blessings, and I just, I still sin. I still disobey. I still miss the mark of holiness. And so really, God is just kind of, no matter how much I have going on, he's kind of disappointed in me, right? And so I was like, well, this kind of stinks. Like it's been a while now, and I just always feel like I'm not quite there, and I'm always disappointing God a little bit. And it's hard, right? And then I start hearing God say, well, Evan, do you think that's true? Do you think that I'm disappointed in you? So I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it feels like you are. I mean, I don't know. So what do? You go back to the basics. Does what you're feeling line up with what God says in his word, right? So I'm like, so is God disappointed with people in the Bible, right? And so what I do is I go online. And if you go to the Bible websites, there's like Bible Gateway. You guys ever heard of that? Bible Gateway. There's like a whole bunch of websites that have the Bible on them. And basically, you can type in the version that you want, and then you can type in a keyword, and it'll take you to every passage that has that word in that version, right? And so I go on there, and I'm like, let's search in the English Standard Version. It's called the ESV. I like to call it the extra special version. And let's type in the word disappoint. All right? How many times does the word disappoint come up? 0 times. It's like, well, let's try a different one. Let's try the New King James Version, right? 0 times. Like, there's got to be somewhere. New American Standard, 0 times. And then I type in the NIV. The NIV, I call it, never mind. I call it the nearly inspired version. It's a joke. Don't get mad. And it turns out there's one result. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. The word disappoint has to be in there somewhere. Holman Christian Standard Bible, HCSB, Hardcore Southern Baptist. Okay, I'm done. All right. And it comes up one time as well. And I'm like, okay, there's a few results, but there's got to be some more. So what I did was I edited the word. I typed in disappointed, right? To find out if God is ever disappointed with people. Well, now we're talking, because we get like 4 results from the ESV, 5 from a different one, right? And I start looking through them, every passage. And you know what I find? I find that in none of those cases of disappointed is it ever about God being disappointed. None of them. So then I go to the one that has one result from the Holman Christian Standard Bible, and the New International Version is what the NIV is. And I look up the one result where the word disappoint comes up in the Bible. And you want to know what it says? And this is my Holman Christian Standard Bible. I have one of each. Every Bible. No, I'm just kidding. This is what it says. The one time that disappoint comes up in the Bible, it says, this hope will not disappoint us. It's saying, the hope that you have in me will not disappoint you. So not only is there no references to God ever being disappointed with people, he's saying not only am I not disappointed in you, I will not disappoint you. Disappointment isn't part of God's nature. He's not disappointed with me. And so I'm thinking, okay, so what I know to be true from your word is that you're not disappointed in me. So what are you with me, right? That's the question I'm trying to figure out, because it kind of feels like from time to time you are disappointed in me. Well, if he's not, then we need to go back and look at some facts. Because God is the Father, right? Can we agree on that? That God is the Father and we are the children. And so I start thinking, well, what is a father and child relationship supposed to look like? And when we start thinking about that, you probably think about your earthly father. And like, I get it. You guys may have a not so good representation for a father from your earthly father. Fathers are humans. They're imperfect people. But hear me, most of the time, or not even most of the time, a father, a lot of the times, they love their children, right? That's how a father and child relationship works. And I don't know your story, and I know that a lot of you guys have gone through some painful stuff with that, and, you know, my heart goes out to you. But for the sake of this example, let me use my dad. My dad's in the back here. Everybody knows my dad. Wave hi, Dad. I'll tell you this. My dad loves me. Okay, and that's just the way it is. In that there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do that's going to make him not love me. Are you with me? Like, my dad, he got appointed 10 years ago to the Texas Board of Licensed Professional Counselors. And so that might not mean much to you, but he's kind of like a public figure when it comes to that stuff. And I remember a few years back, we're talking about that, and he's saying, since I am kind of a public figure now, not like super famous, but you get it. If something were to come out that there was a scandal or something, like it could be bad. You gotta really watch yourself on every area. Like, even if it wasn't him, but it was something from his household or something like that. And I said, well, I'll tell you right now, like, if I ever do anything to mess you up, like, just throw me under the bus. Like, I don't want to mess that up for you, because that's like a heavy weight to carry. And he said, I would never do that. It's like, I would ruin my name for you guys. I would give up everything I had for you guys. And that's the kind of love that a father has for their child, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what I do. Like, if I drop out of grad school, if I wreck my car, burn the house down, if I wind up in jail, like, there's nothing that I can do that would make him not love me. Do you see what I'm saying? That's just the way that things are. And so when it comes to God, I mean, that's the relationship he has with his children. That's the relationship he has with you. That really there's nothing you can do that's going to just make him just shake his head. Oh, I can't believe they did that again. Come on, man. Done that 10 times now. Like, there's nothing that you can do that's going to make him not love you. Because that's who he is. He loves you, right? It's just in his nature to love you. And so what do we do with that then? Do we say, okay, well, cool. I mean, if God loves me and there's nothing that I can do, we can just go on sinning, right? And it really doesn't matter what trouble I get into or what decisions I make and whatever, because he'll just love me and I can't disappoint him, right? So really it doesn't matter what I do, right? Well, no, because if we're doing the example of God as a father, loving his children, then we have to be fair, right? Because a father who loves his child still has guidelines and restrictions and rules for his child, right? Why is it? Is it, if you mess up, I'm just going to spite you, right? Not exactly. It's because the father can see things that the child can't see. And the father says, I know that this path will lead you this way, and that path will lead you that way, right? The father knows what's best for the child. That's why parents don't let their kids, like young children, eat or eat, whatever. They don't let them have sugar late at night, right? Because they know that if they have sugar late at night, that they'll be up all night. And if they're up all night, then they won't get a good night's sleep. And then they'll be tired in the morning for school. They'll fall asleep in class. They'll have to repeat the second grade, right? They grow up hating school. They resent school. They drop out. They never make anything of their lives. They wind up sleeping in a ditch, right? So no sugar after 7. I don't want you sleeping in a ditch, boy. Okay, I'm kind of kidding. But you get the point. Is that there's a reason that the child can't have sugar too late at night, right? And the child, the second grader, may not understand. Skittles are good. I want Skittles, right? You can't have Skittles. 8 o'clock. So you're with me that a father knows what is best for his child, and he says, go this way, because the father knows what's best. And so God is the same way, right? So God, in his relationship with us, he's not looking down on you like, don't you do it, I will strike you with lightning, right? I'll give you the ultimate throat punch Thursday you don't even know, right? That's not how God is. God says, look, man, this is how God is. Ready? I love you so much, right? And he's like, I know that sin will lead you down this path and that it will lead you to bad places. For example, I know that if you continue to look at pornography, that's going to lead you to unsatisfied marriages. It's going to lead you to broken relationships. It's going to leave you empty, hungry, and it's going to lead you far from me, right? And I don't want that for you. And so what I'm saying is, let's go on the path that I have for you. Walk in obedience because I love you. Do you see the difference? That it's not that God is saying, better not mess up. He messed up. I'm so disappointed. So disappointed. You'll never get it, will you? You'll just never get it. God's saying, hey, let's walk in obedience, walk in my ways because I'm on your side. I love you. And I know that this is the best for you, and you just need to trust me, and that's how it is. I'm telling you guys, he doesn't hate you. He loves you. He loves you. Well, Evan, I don't believe in God. I'm just saying, you believe in him or not, he loves you. It's just how it is. And he chose you, and so no matter how much you run from him or ignore him or disobey, like he loves you. And he's got a plan for you, and he's got a path for you. And the reason that he wants you to walk the path is so that you can walk in his plan. That's what it's all about. And so, Evan, okay, what is this? What is run the race, right? What does this have to do with anything? Well, again, before we get into going to live this Christian life, right, and run the race, I think it's important for us to know what God thinks of us, how he sees us. And I think it's important. I mean, I'm just thinking, I struggle with this. I feel like God is disappointed in me sometimes. And why do I think like that? Because I need to remind myself who God is, that he loves me, that he has a plan for me. And so doing some of the preparation before the game is important for us. And we need to know that. We have to know that first of all, that God loves us and that he's not disappointed in us. When God sees you, he doesn't see this messed up kid who just can't figure it out. He sees this kid that he loves with his entire being. And he's crazy about you. All right? And the preparation to know that, before you have to go into the world is huge, right? In 1939, there was the NCAA had their first ever March Madness, and it just so happens that it's March Madness time right now, right? And there was this team out west, okay? They were called the Oregon Ducks. You probably never heard of them. They're still in they're still in the tournament right now. It was a joke. Okay, shut up. All right. But they were out west, and travel back then was pretty hard. So the west teams didn't really play the east teams, but it was well known that the east teams were better, right? Just because that's where more people were, that's where more colleges were, and so the east teams are better than the west. And they never really played each other. But with this big tournament that's going to happen at the end of the year, Oregon decided to pay some money to travel to the East Coast to play some East Coast teams, right? And so they make this long road trip. They play 10 of the best schools. And Oregon said, we're pretty dang good this year. Bring it on, East Coast, right? And East Coast says, Oregon, you're way out west. Like what state is that in? Like, okay, rough, okay. They go out east, and they play 10 of the best schools, and guess what? They won 8 out of the 10 games out east. And so Oregon, they have a pretty good year. They make it in the tournament, the first ever tournament. They go all the way. They make it to the finals. They had a pretty good year, pretty good team. But problem was, they were playing the best team in the East, Ohio State. And you may not know why that's a big problem, but it was a big problem because Ohio State was the best team for a lot of years, and everybody knew that Ohio State was the best team in the East and that they were going to go all the way, and that's exactly what they did. And so Oregon, even though they had this great year, they're still the team that's out west, and the West isn't that good, and so they're kind of the underdog still. And so what Oregon did, they decided, you know what, before we get into this game, let's do some pre-game planning for Ohio State, because those guys are big, those guys are fast, and those guys are from the East, and so they're awesome, right? And so, by the way, UH just beat Ohio State like Sunday, so that was awesome. And so Oregon is planning for this big game, and they decided, let's mix it up a little bit, and they'll never be able to prepare for what we have for them. So Oregon decided, when it came to playing defense, it was like just guard somebody, right? Really no strategy back then. Oregon decided, let's totally change the game here, and let's implement a zone defense so that whenever our guy leaves, they're going to think they're wide open. But really, they're just stepping into another man's zone, and then he'll take over from there. And so they practice the zone defense, and when they go and they play Ohio State in the finals, they did this zone defense, right? And let me tell you this. On March 27th, 1939, 80 years ago to the day, Oregon implemented the zone defense for the first time in college basketball history, and they beat Ohio State. I know, all of a sudden, go Oregon. I'm an Oregon fan now. It's awesome. Oregon plays Virginia on Thursday, so y'all check it out. Point is, how did they win? How did they win the championship game? They did the work before the game. They did the pre-game planning, right? And that's what enabled them to be victorious. And what I'm telling you guys is that in order to be victorious and live the Christian life out in your school and really just run the race, right? You have to know something that comes first, and that's God's voice. And you need to know that God is not disappointed in you. He loves you. He's on your side. And that's how God sees you, that you're his child. And nothing you could ever do could disappoint him, right? He just loves you. And I know what you're saying, God did. You're not disappointed in me. Okay, maybe he's not disappointed in you, Evan, but you don't know the things that I did. You don't even know what I did the week that we got back from camp. You don't even know that I haven't prayed to God since the 7th grade, right? Yeah, God, I really don't even pay that much attention to you. Look, I'm just telling you, God's not disappointed in you because that would be contrary to his word. And God never contradicts his word. And you need to know that God is on your side. And yes, he has a plan for you. He wants you to walk in obedience. But that's because he knows where that path will take you. He's for you and your sin. He's not against you.